Mahatma Gandhi, my life is my message. Mahatma Gandhi, as a father of the nation, has always remained the most important personality in modern Indian history, and is particularly so in India's freedom struggle. Same time, his way of life, philosophy, and methods he advocated and employed to achieve freedom not only for India but also for all the nations in the world. For civil service examinations, Gandhiji, his philosophy, his works, and his talks will always be important. In this essay, we will discuss on his famous saying, "My life is my message." This essay is basically based on the edited part of the article written by Justice C.S. Dharmadhikari. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in the middle of the 19th century. We are in this 21st century, yet his memory lives with us. The father of the nation never ceases to amaze young and old how such a simple and human being like any one of us could reach such unattainable heights, and his selfless deep thinking for all the common good elevated him to such a peak. The politicians always have been known to be westernized in mindset, social and political activities, and even in personal habits and also ways of dressing. Gandhiji in his time was already familiar with the westernized Western trend of moderates and the so-called extremists who reacted to increasing westernization, but they remained stuck to the Western method of opposition through guns and bombs. Mahatma Gandhi summed up his philosophy of life with these words, "My life is my message." His multifarious and dynamic personality was based on truth and nothing but the truth. Non-violence was another intrinsic element of this philosophy. At the All India Congress Committee meeting in Bombay in August 1942, that was on the eve of Quit India movement, Mahatma Gandhi declared, "I want to live full span of my life, and according to me, the full span of life is 125 years. By that time, India will not only free, but the whole world will be free. Today, I do not believe that the Englishmen are free. I do not believe that Americans are free. They are free to do what? To hold other part of the humanity in bondage? Are they fighting for their liberty? I am not arrogant. I am not a proud man. I know the distinction between pride, arrogance, insolence, and so on. But what I am saying is, I believe in the voice of the God. It is the fundamental truth that I am telling you." Gandhi was the most normal of men. He was universal. Such a man cannot be measured, weighed, or estimated. He is the measure of all things. Gandhi was not a philosopher, not a politician. He was a humble speaker of truth. Truth unites because it can be only one. You can cut a man's head but not his thoughts. Non-violence is the only other aspect of sterling coin of the truth. Non-violence is love, the very content of life. In this principle of non-violence, Gandhi introduced a technique of resistance to evil and untruth. His satyagraha is inspired by boundless love and compassion. It is opposed to sin, not the sinner, the evil, but not the evil doer. For him the truth was God, and in that sense he was man of God. Truth is not yours or mine, it is neither Western nor Eastern. Gandhi's prayer stands for invoking the inner strength of men for the good of one another. His spinning wheel for dignity of productive labor and a broomstick for abolition of social inequalities was based on the birth. He wanted freedom from rule of merchandise. He wanted a rationality in productive system which should be based on human rationality. He was not an orthodox economist. His plan was peace, security, and progress for human race as a whole. He believed that the planning should be based on manpower rather than horsepower. The issues are not restricted to India alone, but they are global in nature. These principles are universal. He insisted on individual code of conduct. He introduced an entirely new dimension in the technique of social transformation. One cannot comprehend Satyagraha without connecting it with the constructive work or the ashram observances. Gandhi, the statesman and the fighter for freedom, could not have been like what he was had he not been Gandhi, the social reformer, and Gandhi as a saint. It is the quest for truth in all its glory that creates Gandhi, the man. Gandhiji never pretended to be consistent with previously held views in his life. He readily abandoned his stance when he felt the need to do so. These inconsistencies often infuriated his antagonists. They felt that he was a slippery politician. His consistencies were more a reflection of an ever-growing personality to whom consistency was less important than being true to the inner voice of the truth as understood at any given point of time. Gandhiji took up the ancient but powerful idea of ahimsa or non-violence and made it familiar throughout the world, particularly in the political and economic field. However, non-violence means more than a mere absence of violence. It is something more positive, more meaningful and dynamic, and Gandhiji combined it with a sense of responsibility for the welfare of people. His great achievement was to demonstrate through his own example that non-violence can be implemented effectively not only in the political arena but also in our day-to-day life. His whole life thus was his experiment with truth. Gandhiji knew the human dignity cannot be preserved on charity. Mutuality and well-being is the essence of life. It is therefore the science plus Gandhi which alone could save a planet Earth. Gandhi was an apostle of peace and brotherhood. The modern nuclear weapons not only pose a grave threat to the world peace but will destroy Mother Earth. Apart from the ecological sustainable model of development that was preached by Gandhi, decentralization of socio-economic power based on non-violence and building up of people's power, communal harmony based on people's initiative rather than the state's own power is the only alternative. This was the core of Gandhiji's philosophy. The 20th century was the most violent period in human history. More people have suffered and have been killed by organized violence than any other time before. The wars, the genocides, the weapons of mass destruction have created such an enormous mass misery and agony that it is difficult to find any trace of hope. Therefore, Gandhiji's teachings of non-violence are most relevant today. Now, though late, there is a realization that there is no other alternative. This is the reason why, amidst a report of increasing teenage violence across the United States, a bill has been introduced in the New Jersey Assembly, and this bill seeks to include Mahatma Gandhi's teachings of non-violence in the school curriculum. On 12th May 2000, on Mother's Day in New York, several thousand mothers resolved and demanded that a ban on the manufacture of arms and its use. Therefore, in my view, the teachings of Gandhi are not only relevant but also the only alternative. Some people seem to think that the compassion or non-violence is just a passive emotional response rather than a rational stimulus to action. They forget that Gandhiji combined it with a sense of responsibility. He was not a mere onlooker, but was an active participant. He first followed and then preached. He was a leader in a real sense of the said term. Whenever there was a risk of life, he was at the forefront and never had a desire for power or wealth. Sacrifice was a key word of his life. He lived a simple need-based life because he knew that the needs have an end, whereas greed is endless. Gandhiji knew that in times to come, people will not judge us by the creed we profess, or a label we wear, or a slogan we shout, but by our work, industry, sacrifice, honesty, and purity of character. He also knew that man who wants a freedom has to take a tremendous risk. This was the essence of his life, and that is why he could say that my life is my message. In our freedom movement and in Gandhiji's life, 3 events made Gandhiji a political trendsetter. When Gandhiji entered a scene of Indian national movement, he was nearly 50 years old. He gained experience over more than 2 decades working for the common cause of Indians in South Africa. He adopted different social tools such as satyagraha, non-violence, and civil disobedience, besides the earlier process of appeals, petitions, and pleadings. His struggles in South Africa helped him gain familiarity and initial acceptance in India. But the Indian political scenario was completely different. Gandhiji came to India in 1915, and he did not know what the future lay in store for him. On the advice of Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Gandhi toured India to gain first-hand self-experience. Gandhiji's simple dress gave signals to the public that he was approachable, and his deeds in South Africa generated hopes with the common people to identify him as their savior. There were 3 incidents: Champaran in Bihar, Kheda in Gujarat, and also at Ahmedabad, that identified Gandhiji as a political trendsetter in India. Champaran involved the sufferings of indigo planters at the hands of British. Gandhiji, on reaching Champaran, was expelled by the commissioner, but he refused and preferred punishment for his defiance of the law. This was rather unusual in British India, because even Tilak and Annie Besant, when they were explained from a particular province, they obeyed the orders, even though they organized public protests against the expulsion orders. To offer passive resistance or civil disobedience to an unjust order was indeed novel at that point of time. Finally, the local government not only allowed him to proceed, but in fact appointed him as a member of the inquiry commission. Similarly, in Kheda, Gujarat, peasants suffered from failure of crops, and their appeals of remission of tax were ignored by the government. Gandhiji advised them to withhold the revenue and to fight unto death against such spirit of vindictiveness and tyranny, and show that it is impossible to govern men without their consent. All peasants who could pay and could not were asked to pledge that they will forego the tax. But Gandhiji did not hesitate to withdraw. The agitation worsened beyond a certain limit. Further, in Ahmedabad, a dispute was brewing between the mill workers and the mill owners of Ahmedabad, and it was on an issue of withdrawal of plague bonus. The owner wanted to discontinue this bonus when the epidemic had passed, while the workers wanted that to be continued so that they could be compensated for the hike in prices due to the World War I that was happening. Here, the British collector himself approached Gandhiji to bring pressure on the mill owners and work out a compromise to avoid a shutdown. Following this, Gandhiji persuaded both the workers and the owners to agree to arbitration by a tribunal. But the mill owners breached this agreement, and this Gandhiji took it as a serious issue and he advised the workers to go on strike again and insisted that no violence be used against the employers. To encourage the workers, he took on a fast and promised he would be the first to starve if needed. This brought pressure on the mill owners and they submitted the issue to the tribunal. Subsequently, the strike was withdrawn and the tribunal awarded a 35% increase which the workers had demanded. As we can see, there is a common thread in these events. Gandhiji provided a leadership to the economically lower classes. Gandhiji made a systematic study of the issues involved and made a decisive impact through his policy of civil disobedience and non-cooperation. For the first time in Indian politics, a politician had addressed the sufferings of marginalized Indians. These events set the tone for the Indian freedom struggle. They acquired an inclusive character. Gandhiji gave leadership to all sections of the people of India, irrespective of caste, color, and creed in the struggle for freedom. And therefore, this was a political watershed. He set a new paradigm of leadership and he laid the foundation for true democratic India.